Yo, what is going on, guys? In today's video, we're going to be talking all about the very first mutant, Apocalypse. Now, you can watch these videos in either order, but if you'd like to know about Professor X, who's also coming to the game next month with Apocalypse, you can watch that video first, or you can watch this one and that one. I definitely advise watching both, at least for the synergy portions, because the synergies that these guys have and that they can give to certain mutants is ridiculous. They're going to be boosting the mutant class up even more. The mutant class is already pretty good, and it is insane. So yeah, link to the Professor X video is in the top of the description. You can check it out if you'd like, but let's jump into Apocalypse. So Apocalypse will be the second champion coming in September, dropping on the 24th at 10 a.m. So his prestige, I think his prestige is the exact same as Professor X, and they're both pretty good. They're both mutant, of course. So basic abilities: bleed, poison, weakness, concussion, degeneration. So strengths: prevent, purify abilities, fighting mutant opponents, prevent, evade, significantly enhance any mutants. Some weaknesses are robots. He won't get genetic code against robots. Stun immunity and block penetration. He needs to land a decent amount of heavies, a little tougher against stun immune. Poison, degeneration, or debuff immune. Apocalypse needs to place a lot of debuffs to be effective. Opponents who are immune to his debuffs will render him ineffective. And ramp up time. Unless Apocalypse fights mutant, it can take quite a few fights before he builds up all his genetic code. This can make his first fight or two more difficult. But there's a synergy that helps to also build up his genetic code, so that is definitely worth mentioning. Because when I first read that, I was like, I'm sensing a Mr. Sinister. This is not good. But yeah, he has a synergy that maxes out his genetic code, which is actually pretty sick. So the following stats and abilities are based on a rank 5, level 65, 5-star champion. So abilities: genetic enhancement, max 4 stacks. Start each quest with 1 persistent genetic code. This becomes 2 if defending and 3 if defending a final boss node. Knocking out a non-robot opponent grants 1 genetic code. Gain 2 genetic code at the start of the fight when fighting a mutant. At the start of the fight, gain 1 indefinite passive prowess for each genetic code, each increasing special attack damage by 40%, which is a really, really good amount of prowess percentage. So that's pretty solid. At 3+ genetic code, becomes stun immune while striking. I wish this was just straight stun immunity. I really don't get why it's not. But while striking, this will be useful for combating auto block. You can attack an auto block and you won't get stunned against like Medusa or something. So that is kind of nice, but I wish it was just permanent stun immunity. And at 4+ genetic code, striking the opponent's block with light attacks inflicts a stun debuff for 0.8 seconds. Cooldown 12 seconds, has no effect against full-time blocks. Using genetic code, Apocalypse has the ability to hold infinite passive prowesses effects, making him great in some more niche situations, such as Special Connoisseur node in Act 6. This stun thing is kind of weird, but yeah, additionally, Apocalypse's ability to stun the block is great in situations where the opponent is playing hard to get, giving him an instant combo opener. But I mean, like, if they're not stun immune, you can just parry. So, I mean, I guess like an oscillate or something, maybe they're being passive, but I don't know. It doesn't seem that being that useful for his full genetic code ability. I wish it was something else. But yeah, so total molecular control. Develop immunity to bleed, incinerate, and disorient effects over 8 seconds while suffering from them. Once developed, these immunities persist for the entire quest. So this is a really weird immunity system, the first that we've really seen. So you have to be suffering from an effect. Now it's an effect, not a debuff. So this can be for passive effects. This can be to, like, Mephisto's Incinerate is Aura of Incineration. This should work for that if you're being damaged by it for 8 seconds. Then you will build up the full immunity to it. You have to build up the immunity in the fight, though. Like, if you get 4 seconds of Incinerate in one fight, if another 4 seconds in the next fight, it doesn't add together. It has to be done in one fight to achieve the immunity. But once the immunity is achieved, it does persist for the whole quest, which is cool. I really like the bleed one, because with suicides you just start the fight with bleed, and so yeah, you can become bleed immune, so that's cool. And I don't know if he keeps the debuff on him and just takes no damage from it, or because it says immunity, so I'm not sure. Yeah, it says immunity, but yeah, so it might just purify it, but it'd be better if it if it stayed, and then heal like from willpower or something. But each time the opponent evades, gain 10% chance to bypass evade. This is not affected by ability accuracy reduction, and the chance to bypass evade persists through the quest. That's really weird. It's a really weird way to give a bypass to evade, but I kind of like it. I like that it persists through the entire quest. So once an opponent evades 10 times against you, no opponent will be able to evade against you. This could be pretty good in like Labyrinth or Abyss, actually. That could actually be really good in Abyss, yeah. That's cool. Really weird, but yeah, a little different, a little cool. And then this last one's great. So opponents suffer 100% purify ability accuracy reduction. So opponents aren't going to be purifying your debuffs. That's great. It sounds like an alright Korg counter. Oh wait, actually, I don't know. Maybe not if his, well, yeah, I guess you could just, as long as you could stun Korg parry and then do light attacks, you just can't purify it. So that could be cool. So purify ability accuracy reduction means that unless the opponent facing Apocalypse has some way to increase their chance to trigger purify, they will never be able to remove his debuffs with purify. This includes the stun from parry. So yeah, that's pretty cool. That should also actually make him a counter to Masochism. Yeah, should make him a full counter to the Masochism node, which is pretty cool. So yeah, heavy attacks. Both hits, so as heavy as a 2-hit, inflicts a bleed debuff, dealing 797 direct damage over 7 seconds, and refresh personal weakness, poison, concussion, and degeneration effects on the opponent. So special attacks. If the opponent is suffering from a damage over time effect, special attack debuffs trigger on activation and last 30% longer. So that's cool. You can heavy charge, land the heavy first hit, and then chain that into a special attack, and it's 2 hits to utilize this. And each hit deals a burst of 600 physical damage for each personal weakness, poison, concussion, and degeneration on the opponent. That could stack up a decent amount. You can get quite a few of these debuffs going, and apparently his special attacks are quite a few hits. So each hit will do a burst of 600 times however many debuffs of these debuffs you have. Get some decent damage going that way. So on attack, Apocalypse can chain his heavy into a special attack to inflict bleed and thus gain the bonus duration in his special attack debuffs. Additionally, fighting Apocalypse with the Suicide Masteries turned on is probably not the best idea, since he will trigger his special attack debuffs without needing to land a hit. So special attack 1, inflict a debuff determined by the last light or medium attack thrown if fighting a mutant, or if Apocalypse has 4 genetic code to trigger both. So Apocalypse is actually going to be pretty good against mutants. Light attack, inflict a non-stacking weakness, reducing attack rating by 25% for 25 seconds. Medium attack, inflict a non-stacking poison, dealing 4,500 direct damage, and reduce health recovery by 30% over 25 seconds. Special attack 2, again, inflict a debuff based on whether you finish your combo with light or medium, and if you're fighting mutants or if Apocalypse has 4 genetic code, you trigger both. Light attack, inflict a non-stacking concussion, reducing ability action by 35% for 25 seconds. Medium, inflict a non-stacking degeneration, dealing 7,900 direct damage over 25 seconds. That degen sounds pretty good, and that poison also sounds pretty good because you'll be able to lower some healing by decent amount. Also stack this up with despair. Could be pretty good. Now, developer note here, combo enders are key in choosing what effect you want to trigger in special attacks 1 and 2. You can think of it in this way: end with a light attack for utility, and with a medium for damage. And normally, you're ending a combo with a medium attack. So yeah, that's good to get those big debuffs off. So special attack 3, this is very interesting. All personal weakness, poison, concussion, and degeneration effects on the opponent are re-triggered at 100% potency and paused indefinitely. This potency increase does not stack multiple times. That's pretty crazy, man. So you can double the amount of damage your debuffs are doing, and then you make them permanent. So you can get the permanent poison and permanent degeneration on the opponent and increase their potency by 100%, which should double it. And yeah, they last forever. That sounds pretty good, man. That sounds pretty good. If no personal weakness, poison, concussion, or degeneration effects are active, inflict 2 at random. These will not gain additional potency and will not be paused. So the only thing I'm a little bit worried about is, if you'll have enough time. I mean, 25 seconds for the special one. and 25 seconds for the special 2. Is that enough time to get back to a special 3? I don't know. I'm sure you'll be able to do it. It just didn't seem like the most amount of time. I don't know if you'll be able to get both of them in one special 3. But special 3 is the most powerful for locking in your expiring debuffs from special 1 and 2. The ideal loop is to use special 1 and special 2 to get the debuffs you want, then use the heavy attack to refresh them as you build your special 3. That's right, you can refresh them with the heavy attack. So yeah, that would be the key then. Yeah, then that would be really easy to get that cycle going. So yeah, just keep refreshing them with the heavy until you get to the special 3. Dude, yeah, that actually makes it a very easy loop. And then we get to a pre-fight and cross-fight ability, which is pretty ridiculous. So it's called Horseman of Apocalypse. So once per quest, if Apocalypse has 4 genetic code, he can spend them in the pre-fight screen to place a cross-fight on the next fight. The next mutant teammate, excluding Apocalypse, to enter this fight becomes a Horseman of Apocalypse for the rest of the quest. Now, the really cool thing about this, before we even get into what it does, is you can use this in Alliance War, and you can use this with teammates. So, you know, I can pull up to a fight with my Apocalypse, and if I have my 4 genetic codes, which I can use a synergy to get them, so I pretty much only have to win one fight with my Apocalypse. Then I can pull up to a shared fight, and I can go ahead and use my 4 genetic code, apply this pre-fight ability, and then my buddy Taters comes up. He goes into the fight with any mutant champion other than Apocalypse. Boom. Now his mutant champion is a Horseman for the rest of this Alliance War. It doesn't matter if he dies, revives that champ, still a Horseman. Still a Horseman. Now, it's like any mutant, only mutants get this, but for the rest of the quest, this mutant champion will gain the following. Horsemen gain the following abilities: 100% bleed resistance. So that's resistance, not immunity. So I think Apocalypse is immunity to the bleed after 8 seconds. This is resistance. So this will give you the bleed debuff from suicides or whatever. You'll still have that debuff, but you'll heal from it. You won't take any damage. So with willpower, you're good. You get an indefinite prowess, increasing special attack damage by 50%. Gain 30% offensive ability accuracy. Go unblockable for 2 seconds when the opponent purifies a debuff. And once per fight, go unstoppable for 3 seconds when struck. So the bleed resistance can make any champion suicide friendly, which is awesome. You can increase your special attack damage with a pretty nice prowess, 50%. It's pretty solid. You get some offensive ability accuracy. You can go unblockable when the opponent purifies a debuff. And this is my favorite part right here. Once per fight, go unstoppable for 3 seconds when struck. So, you know, you're in a fight, you slip up, the opponent hits you, boom, now you're unstoppable. You can get out of the combo. That's great. And again, this lasts for an entire quest. Man, this is going to be pretty crazy. So, developer note, this Horseman is one of Apocalypse's coolest abilities and allows him to transform any mutant into a Horseman for the rest of the quest, giving them a ton of additional power. So that's pretty cool. Now, signature ability, Survival of the Fittest. This is a really weird signature ability, probably the weirdest we've ever seen. When Apocalypse doesn't participate in a fight, he enters his rejuvenation chamber to slumber. At the start of the next fight, he regenerates a 3,800 just about health for each fight his teammates won while he slumbered. This can stack up to 2 times. So, on your team, if you have Apocalypse and you win up to 2 fights without using him, the next fight you go into with him, he will regenerate up to like almost 8,000 health, probably even more with the recovery mastery. So yeah, really weird. This is going to be absolutely useless on defense. But yeah, weird signature ability. So he's not really going to need to be awakened, which is nice. And the developer note, this ability essentially allows Apocalypse to regenerate whenever his teammates win a fight. If you swap between using Apocalypse and his Horseman every few fights, you can get the power of the Horseman and allow Apocalypse to slumber with his signature ability to regenerate back any health he might lose. Now, synergy time. So the first one with Apocalypse gain 15% attack rating for each mutant on the team, excluding himself. What? That's pretty insane. Dude, you can, in Alliance War, you can get 30% attack through this synergy. You can bring White Magneto and Professor X, and then you can apply, oh my god, you can get like 60% attack onto a red, well, I mean, you could have a teammate bring in a White Magneto, apply the pre-fight to give you more attack rating. You can have this synergy. Oh my god, there's so many synergies now giving attack rating, dude. Oh my god. There's a way to get 60% attack rating in Alliance War to a red Magneto on fighting a final boss. That's metal. Like, there's, oh my god, so much attack rating through all these synergies. Oh my god, dude, these mutant synergy teams are gonna be crazy. But yeah, that's awesome. So you 15% attack rating for each mutant on the team. So in Alliance War, you can bring 2. That's 30% attack rating. That's so much attack. That's honestly crazy. Now we have Your Fate Is Mine with Kang, Mr. Sinister, Cable, Apocalypse. Start the first fight in a quest with maximum genetic code. This is huge. This is a huge synergy for Apocalypse. So you could bring Cable or Mr. Sinister, and then boom, that counts as a mutant also for this guy, this synergy right here. And then boom, you start the first fight with maximum genetic code. So you'll still have to do one fight to have the maximum genetic code, but boom, you do one fight with Apocalypse, and then you're able to use his Horseman pre-fight thing. You'll expend the 4 genetic code, and then you can turn any mutant into a Horseman. So yeah, that's pretty crazy. Now, Kang, every 4 seconds, Kang gains an indefinite Fury buff, granting 20% attack rating. This ends when reaching 20 stacks of Fury. Whoa, I didn't read this synergy before. That sounds pretty good for Kang. Wow, Kang might actually become good. Mr. Sinister, degeneration debuffs gain 50% potency. Why couldn't they give more to Mr. Sinister? He's such a disappointing champion, man. Okay. Cable, Incinerate debuffs gain 150% potency. Additionally, heavy attacks now inflict degeneration on each hit, and their stack limit is removed. That could actually be kind of good for Cable. Now we have Bringer of Death 1 with Psylocke. Psylocke basic attacks have a 30% chance to grant a Psy charge. If this champion is a Horseman of Apocalypse, gain 50% critical damage rating, 30% attack rating when striking an opponent at 0 power. That could be pretty good for Psylocke. You get them all power locked once they're at 0 power. 50% critical damage rating and 30% attack rating. And then you could also get more Psy charges. Could be fairly good for Psylocke. Then we have Bringer of Death with Gambit. Each time a kinetic charge is gained, there is a 70% chance to gain an additional one, cooldown 0.8 seconds. If this champion is a Horseman of Apocalypse, each kinetic charge gains 10% perfect block chance up to a max of 100%. Sounds pretty crazy. You can get a max perfect block. I really don't even know how Gambit works. I'm not going to bother learning until he gets buffed. So yeah, that could be cool though, especially after the buff. This one with Wolverine sounds really good. So Wolverine, personal bleeds have a chance based on critical rating to be critical bleeds, dealing damage based on critical damage rating. Critical bleeds on Wolverine sounds good. And if this champion is a Horseman of Apocalypse, gain 30% critical rating and 40% critical damage rating. That sounds awesome, man. That sounds really awesome for Wolverine. Definitely gonna have to do some gameplay on that. And then we have Bringer of Death with Archangel. Each hit of a heavy attack into a stunned opponent has a 10% chance to pause all neurotoxins for 3 seconds. If this champion is a Horseman of Apocalypse, neurotoxin stun duration is increased by 30%. So not bad for Archangel. I mean, Archangel's already so good that, he didn't really need a synergy. So then we have some with the Storm. So this one is with Storm OG. Storm, each hit of a heavy attack inflicts a shock into a shocked opponent has 60% chance to inflict an additional shock debuff, dealing 90% of modified attack over 8 seconds. If this champion is a Horseman of Apocalypse, shock effects last 50% longer, and heavy attacks refresh all shock debuffs on the opponent. That sounds like it could be pretty good. And then with Storm Pyramid X, after charging her dormant prowess, Storm has 70% chance to trigger a passive prowess for each prowess buff that is already active, each increasing special damage by 20% for 6 seconds. So just more prowess for Storm. And if this champion is a Horseman of Apocalypse, gain 30% critical rating and 20% prowess potency. That is huge if she's a Horseman, dude. 30% critical rating. That is amazing. Because one of her big downsides is, she has crazy damage potential, but she was reliant on critting. So that's pretty crazy synergy if she becomes a Horseman. And then some recommended masteries. Inequity can apply a lot of debuffs to lower the opponent's attack rating. Recovery to help with the slumber, a signature ability thing. And then double edge, of course, because he can become immune to bleed. So yeah, man, Apocalypse sounds pretty crazy. Again, a lot of synergies. Him and Professor X both are just going to be huge boosters to the mutant class, especially with this Horseman thing. That any mutant in the game can get this. And again, if you run Apocalypse with this synergy here, you know, a synergy team can be Apocalypse, Cable / Mr. Sinister, whichever one you want to run. So those two, and then another mutant of your choice. I don't know, say Domino, Omega Red, you know, whatever. Bring that team to Alliance War. I mean, you wouldn't have the Sabretooth synergy with Omega Red, but yeah. Or, you know, you could just bring someone on your team for Alliance War, could bring Apocalypse and, you know, one of these champions to max their genetic code, win one fight with him, and then boom, they can give that to another person in your battle group to boost their mutant champion. And oh my god, then your mutant champion can get all this stuff for the rest of Alliance War. And, oh my god, there's a lot of crazy combinations that I can foresee with this. And wow, the mutant class, dude, is already so good. Wow, it's pretty crazy. This can just make any champion become suicide friendly, because this is bleed resistance. That's like Omega Red. This is like giving Omega Red's bleed resistance to anyone, but it's better. So yeah, I very excited to see the combinations with Apocalypse, Professor X, and just so many more mutant champions. It sounds pretty crazy, and I'm excited to really play Apocalypse and actually see how he is for myself. But yeah, it sounds like he has a lot of utility, a lot of cool, crazy stuff that he can do. But yeah, super excited for these next two champions. It's going to be mutant galore next month, man. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. And if you didn't already see the Professor X one, go check it out. With all their synergies and everything, they're going to be just crazy combinations. If you guys thought of any crazy cool combinations with his pre-fight or with synergies, you know, let me know down below, because there's so much. There's so much probably that I haven't even thought of yet. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. We did enjoy. If so, drop a like. Peace out.